you?
I'm good. It's so good to see you.
You too.
Oh my
Well,
goodness.
you're okay?
Yeah, you look all nice and fancy.
I don't. You look fancy. You got a blowout.
I got a blowout, yeah.
I got
From my
criticized today
4-year-old.
for my nails by a customer. He told me that it was, he said he could tell it had been a while since I'd seen a salon, but whatever.
I'm deliberately chopping off the top of my head if it makes you feel any better.
So everybody, hey, welcome. Jamie is a friend of mine for a long time, and she actually has two little ones, and right now is their nap time. So I want to go ahead and get started in case anybody wakes up. So Jamie and I have known each other a long time. I will tell you a little bit about how I know her, how I met her. She was working for a jewelry designer, Kara Ross, who then went into handbags, and Jamie was doing everything from design and managing production and development. And then Jamie, then after Kara, I guess Kara closed her company and decided she didn't want to do it anymore or close that division. And then Jamie went.
Yeah, that was after I left.
Yeah. And then Jamie went and was working for a handbag factory in New York. And she has, basically been a godsend for so many of our customers that needed to develop and produce custom hardware. Because a lot of people don't know how to even start with the design process, the specs, and who to go to get it made. So, after Jamie left the handbag factory, she's now started her own consulting business. So she works with designers to produce any type of custom hardware that they need, or she can help people with production if you're not a manufacturer. And so she's awesome. She's really awesome. She's very talented. She's smart, and she's pretty. So I guess
used to be
Jamie,
cuter when we first met.
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, one of the unique things about my experience is I did start in jewelry, and hardware design are pretty much, for all intents and purposes, the same thing, with the exception of some of the technical and functionality aspects of handbag hardware. And you learn that as you design handbags. Certain things, for example, having a top handle bag is very difficult without having a proper lock on it. As you all know, it'll flip right open if you put too much in the bag. All those types of things you learn while making bags. And then I was able to incorporate my experience and background in jewelry design and specs to design and create all these different types of hardware. People tend to be a little bit afraid of hardware. I found when I'm discussing with new clients and so on, they're always sort of, well, I'm just going to use stock hardware right now. We're not ready for hardware. We're not ready for that. And I always feel a little bit pulled back, okay, you don't want to pressure someone into it. People tend to be afraid of, first of all, they don't know where to begin in terms of the design. They're afraid of how long it takes to make hardware. They're afraid of the costs involved. They're afraid that they're going to have to buy way too many pieces. And also they just don't have the factories or the resources to begin. So I'm here to sort of ease all of those fears for everyone and let you know that hardware is something really special. It's what changes the bag and makes it really yours. It personalizes it for your brand. It's what sets it apart. And also, it makes it uniquely yours. It's something that someone can't copy. Someone can't make anything. Jenny, look at Jenny. I like how you look. Jenny, I like how you look. Who's better than Jenny? But it really creates a full collection, a cohesive line. And, even just having a D-ring with your logo on it makes it unique to your brand. So it's really, it's really an important aspect to handbag design. The myths in terms of minimums, if you go to the factories, the massive factories in China, yeah, you're going to hit some large, quantity minimums. But the truth is anyone who's making bags at our level using these alligator skins, you don't want to go to China for these massive amounts of hardware, to begin with.
And you're never going to make that many bags anyways. I mean, you're not going to make, you
We're
know.
not making 10,000 bags of
Yeah,
the
exactly.
same thing. Right. But there's, you know what? There's a lot of amazing kind of loopholes and techniques that you can use when designing hardware. One, first and foremost, never design something just for one silhouette. So if you're designing something, make sure that you can use it in multiple shapes within your handbag collection. That way you're able to you're able to use that hardware for many different shapes. You're not locked into one shape. Even a brand like Hermes, they use that same Hermes lock on, 10, 12 different designs. That way you're able to spread out the inventory that you need to own, and you're not sitting on it for such a long period of time. Because sometimes, you try a silhouette and it doesn't work. The hardware shouldn't have to also not work. So this way you can use it. Also, a great way to sort of dip your toe in the water with hardware is feet. Designing feet for handbags, which especially with alligator bags, no one's putting their beautiful alligator bag on the floor without, a foot to support it. Most bags are taking at least 4 feet. So if you have to order 200 pieces, you all can do the math there. It's only 50 bags. It's not such a big deal. Plus the feet can go on multiple different silhouettes and styles and so on. It's not that much of an investment. And also you can add your logo onto it. You can make a unique foot that's, very much synonymous with your brand. Same thing kind of goes with the D-ring. D-rings are used everywhere. Lobsters used everywhere. So these are sort of ways that people can dip their toe into the water when it comes to custom hardware. And down the line, it actually ultimately saves you money.
So
Ohio
let me,
Travel, a lot of the stock places,
yeah.
they mark that stuff up. So, if you can lay it out for a dog clip up front, it saves money on your bag so all the way through.
So let's talk about, like, a lot of the people that are on here that are watching, they are all leather goods makers. So they make leather goods themselves. But one of the things that they, might have a difficult time finding is where to get this stuff made. So let's say that someone wants to say, Jamie, I have a small bespoke, collection, and I want to do a few pieces of custom hardware for you, but I need you to help me with design, so functionality, and all the way from design to making sure it fits with their product, to development, to production. What does that look like, and sort of how does that process go? Like, what does that kind of thing cost? What's the quality level for the hardware? I know that's a lot of questions at once. Sorry.
No, 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 no. It's okay. Well, let me pretend for a minute that you were that person coming to me.
I'm that person.
Okay. So first off, I would say to you, do you have a cost structure for your handbag? Do you know what your leeway is in terms of what you can spend on hardware and still have your bag priced where you want to price it, whether it be if you're selling direct to consumer or to a retailer? You got to go backwards. So this way we can back into what your budget is for your hardware, having nothing to do with how much capital you have in the bank or how much money you have willing to spend, but what you can charge for your bags. We don't want to be putting hardware on a bag and not having you be able to, I don't want you to lose money on hardware that we're making. So it needs to fit with your product. So first we would start there and say, okay, I have, $10 here to spend on hardware. Can I make a lock for $10? Yes, you can. You can make a lock for $10.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, for sure. One of the great things, because I've worked with so many small brands, is you sort of figure out these little tricks of the trade. One thing I can say that has saved me many times, and I've also seen it hurt so many companies before, is trying to use too many different colored metals. That can be a loophole. So if you pick one plating, one custom gold color, and you want to integrate, some stock pieces with some custom pieces, pick a color that exists in the stock market, which not the regular stock market, our hardware stock market,
Yeah.
and use that as your signature color. When people try and invent new colors, you have to source everything, and it can get very expensive. And then if you get tired of rose gold, what are you going to do? So this way, you have a lot of leeway there. But in terms of utilizing me, all you guys are designers. So if you have a inspiration or an item out there that you like, Christy, send me what you like. I can take that. I'll reinterpret it for you. I'll give you about 5 options. I call it a sketch run. send you a sketch run. Let's say it's a belt buckle, for argument's sake, 5 different belt buckles based upon, you know, the feel I have for your brand, based upon what you tell me you like and what it is that you need. And if you don't know any of those things, we can discuss it and figure out what it is you want and what it is you need together. But I'm just assuming because all you guys kind of have your own lines, you have a little bit of a direction there. I'll take that. I'll send you 5 sketches. You tell me what you like, what you don't like. I can Frankenstein them together. You like this from A, this from B, and this from C. We mix it up. I'll send you another one. And then you tell me go. From there, I create a technical spec with dimensions on it. And it'll give you all the different views of that said item. Assuming you approve that, then at that point, I'll give you a CAD 3D mock-up rendering of that said item so you can really see and envision what it'll be like. Then you approve that CAD, I get a hand sample made for you. You actually get one piece of that hardware in your hand. Ideally, I can get it plated for you, even with your logo. Sometimes the hand samples are raw, depends on the time and the rush and what the color is that you're asking. If you want regular gold, I'll get you your gold sample. That whole process.
When you say raw, what does that mean? Sorry.
Unplated, unpolished.
Okay. So it's basically just like a piece of metal, but it's in the right shape and everything, but it just is not like shiny gold or whatever. It might look like a dull brass.
Exactly. Or, you know, a dull base metal. Depends on what the item is. I actually try not to use brass if I can help it on hardware, unless it's a specific lock, only because brass is very heavy and we're always trying to minimize, you know, keep weight down on handbags. It's one of the biggest complaints from women, especially when we're dealing with alligator bags and beautiful suede linings. We want to keep the weight as light as we can. For the confirmed CAD drawing, you know, that usually takes about 2 to 3 weeks, that whole design process. And again, it depends on the customer. Some people tell me that day, I love what you did. I like number 1, do it. And then it's done. Other people, there's back and forth with it. It just depends on who, you know, how people like to work or how clear of a vision, how clear of a vision they have of what it is they want, you know? I never try and push my ideas onto someone else unless it's a technical thing, and then I will. So, you know, I will not allow you to make a belt buckle that has a weak tongue. It has to be a certain thickness. Otherwise it's going to bend and, you know, break right off. So, you know, those types of things. Another, you know, about 3 to 4 weeks again. Then once that's confirmed, it's about 4 to 6 weeks for production. So overall, the process from, you know, our first conversation to when you have your production in hand can be about a 3 to 4 month period. So there is lead time with hardware. Again, hardware should not be a seasonal thing. Hardware is something that you create that staples within your collection. And when the hardware comes, it's very cyclical. It falls into your collection. You know, you can time it properly. You can try and have things ready for a resort collection, you know, for example, which is showing in June. And if that doesn't happen, you have to be able to be flexible in your mind to allow that to show for September, for spring, summer. Some of this stuff you can't determine when working with some of these overseas factories, or, you know, something arrives, a hand sample, you don't like it, you want to go back to the drawing board and remake it. I never put anything into our collection until it's perfect. You're better off waiting. Haste makes waste. Don't put it into production until you're completely satisfied with it. You've made it on a prototype, tested it out, worn it, make sure it feels right. And this goes for handbags across the board, not just hardware, but I think it's always very, very important to test out what you're making. Make a proto, make a dummy, pop the hardware on it, and wear it.
That's one of the things that I've seen throughout my years of working. So for those of you watching, like I have been, and if you're just now joining, this is Jamie Books. She's with a company called Mason & Books. She's a consultant for design, production, hardware, and for handbags. She's based out of New York. And so one of the things that I've seen that, you know, I started working full-time in the company. I mean, I grew up here, but I started working full-time when I was 23, right after I finished undergrad. And one of the things that I've seen people, particularly, you know, designers or bag makers or people trying to start a line, really get taken for a ride with, it's hardware. Because they think that they're just going to place an order with a factory in Italy and they're going to get what they want, and then they get it back and it's wrong. They've spent $2,000. They've waited 5 months and they have nothing right. I tell people every single time, if it is not, like, if you're not willing to spend the money to make a thousands of dollars in mistakes, hire a consultant who knows what they're doing. So, that's why, like, it is obviously like someone is paying for your services, your know-how, your factories that you work with, and all of those things. But in my opinion, it's worth it. And I think that, when someone makes a bag and it's some people don't want any hardware on their bags, and I can understand, like, maybe they want to keep it, to where they're worried it's going to look dated or something in 15 years, whatever. But in my opinion, if you're going to make a bag that you're going to be able to sell for some pretty, a good chunk of cash, you want it to be special. You want it to be yours. You want people to look at it and go, oh, I know what designer that is, or I know what brand that is. And I think that that's the best way to do it, because there is no real exclusive on things like color, shape. I mean, hardware is the way to differentiate.
Right, exactly. I mean, in handbags, it's very difficult to reinvent the wheel, and hardware is that way to do it. Even if it's just your logo plate on the inside, a beautiful logo plate, it makes the world of difference. I mean, heat stamps are beautiful. Everyone uses them, but if you have no signature hardware at all on your bag, having that logo plate on the inside is a great thing. And also, one of the great things about using a consultant is, a lot of these handbag companies, and that's where my heart is with the small emerging brands, people who can pivot and are open to new ideas, but you don't have a lot of buying power. So when you come in with a consultant, I'm placing orders. I've already done 3 or 4 designs that week for other brands and other companies. So you have my buying power behind you without having to write a large.
Right.
I'm a big client to these factories, even if you're not. So they aren't willing to risk their relationship with me, which is a 10-year, 12-year relationship, and 10 to 12 clients at any given time. So you go under the umbrella, and that's one of the great things. And I know, Chrissy, people feel like that, with you too, when you're always helping them out, all these little guys, everyone always kind of looks to you as a mama bear. I feel like a mama bear to a lot of my brands.
Yeah.
I know I used to look to you to that as well, and still do, but it's true. You have a lot more, you get a lot more flexibility. So things that I can get rushed, in a week, no, you could never get that. Even if you had my contact at the factory, they wouldn't do it for you. It's all the relationships are everything.
Yeah.
And, those are things that come over time, trust. They have to feel that you know what you're doing. And that's it. I mean, I love bags. I love bags. The only thing I love more than bags, I've always had a shoe problem, but that's a whole nother area of expertise, and I'm not even getting into shoes. But we love what we do, and the people we do it with. It's such an amazing business and industry, and people who have passions for leather. It's kind of like a disease, and once you see someone who has it, you just kind of want to jump on board.
Yeah.
But I can show you guys. I don't know if you can see this. Let me flip this around.
Wow, awesome.
This is, I just did a little dummy up of a belt buckle for everyone. So this is a hand spec here. This is hand drawn, and then I digitize it with just some dimensions for people to see. From there, once that's approved, I can give you more of a 3D visualization there. And the only reason I wait on that is it takes a lot of time. So if there's something you don't like here, I can correct it and change it before we go to the 3D variation. And then, there's also some other views I can give you once someone's confirmed. If they're like, I want to see an angle, I want to see it like this. So different ways you can see that belt buckle. I can add logos to it. You can have them blind engraved. You can have black enamel put into it. It sort of just depends on what you want. This particular buckle, the reason I have it in two-tone is not because we're actually plating it in two-tone. It's just to show that it's 2 separate pieces, 2 separate molds. And again, the other thing with hardware, and I'm actually glad that this reminds me, there are molds. So you have to open up molds. Molds are actually more expensive very often than the production of the hardware itself. So once you have that upfront cost of the mold, you own that mold. You can produce hardware when you have a reorder. It's never as expensive as the first order. You don't have to pay for the mold a second or third time. So I can place orders, usually for the most part, 200 pieces is around where my minimum
tends to be. But it depends on the piece and it depends on what you want to design. If we're working in Italy, I can have some smaller minimums, but then longer lead times.
And more expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. Is my service expensive, like thousands of dollars or hundreds of dollars?
Billions.
My service,
Billions.
I see someone, millions and millions, millions and millions, alligator Neil. It all depends on what you want. If you send me a picture of something, you're like, this is exactly what I want. It could be a couple $100s for me to help you out. I look at the people that I'm working with. I try and be fair with everyone. You know, these things take time, and the relationships I have are valuable. And I always stand behind what it is that I do and make sure that you get what's right. Recently, I made a mistake. Not perfect. And a sample came in, and the peg was on the wrong side, and I just didn't catch it. And, you know, I paid for that out of pocket. If I make a mistake, it's my fault. So that's something I should have caught and I didn't. But it's all very, you know, it's a partnership. So it can be hundreds of dollars. It can be hundreds of thousands of dollars. Depends on how much you want to order, how much you want to do. I design handbags as well. I do operations for some companies. I can help you with your systems, implementing everything from
retail pricing,
Instagrams, costing sheets, sourcing. What did I do recently? Dust bags, boxes. I've run handbag divisions for the past 10 years. So I have all those resources and all that experience. And if I don't know, I'll either find out or I'll tell you I don't know.
Yeah. So for those of you, if anybody's just joined, this is Jamie Books. She's a consultant that I've known for a long time. And she has worked with a lot of very big brands. I mean, she's worked with brands to, do their production from Kara Ross, where, she was in Bergdorf, Neiman, Saks.
Ralph Lauren, Oscar de la Renta, Dennis Passo, who have I worked with? Calvin Klein, Gabriella Hearst, The Row, many different brands. And, some brands on the lower end, some brands on the higher end. It just, oh, cool, dust bags. Yeah, there you go, Neil. Neil's my buddy. Neil.
So what that's, a lot of people come to me and they say, I want to get into this. Like recently I had a client who wanted to get into doing some things and they wanted custom hardware. They knew nothing about it. And they called me and they said, oh, we're going to go to New York and we're going to buy lining leathers. And I said, whoa, you don't even have a design yet. Like first, let's step 1 before step 10. So, right. When someone's thinking about starting a line, number 1, you need to come up with a vision for the line. You need to come up with, your brand identity and all of those things. Then you start designing. Then you start doing some dummies. You got to get all of these other things. But when someone starts going and just going out and buying things because they think they found something, I mean, they've wasted thousands of dollars, and you can spend that money like either putting it towards marketing once you get something good, if you just start with the right people and you start with a foundation and, build the house from the ground up instead of from the top down.
100%. So basically I can, learn from all the mistakes of things I've seen, and I can help you you wouldn't believe some of the things I've seen, but I can help, my clients avoid those pitfalls and take it one step at a time and spend where it's important to spend. So even with alligator skins, when I speak to my clients, like, oh, there's a sale, I'm going to buy it. I'm like, wait, those are 52, centimeter skins. We're making these tiny little bags.
Buying the right size skin for the bag. Yeah.
Buy the right size skin. And sometimes that means buying 2 small skins. But it makes such a big difference when on the, and I mean, you taught me that, but those things, backing into it and then pricing your bag appropriately. Just because that skin was available that day doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be available 3 months from now. So make sure you're pricing your alligator bags and thinking about, Uncle Chandler or Philip need to make I want to see Damon on one of these.
No, he's not allowed.
Damon's banned from the Instagram?
Yeah. All of them are. So we've got a question.
Chandler might be screen ready.
He's pretty sweet. We've got a question here. Let's see what it is. And if it's, oh no, we just had, thanks Nancy. I'm glad that you're enjoying it. We're trying to come up with different things and during these sort of making makers
Jenny,
better.
You can absolutely provide my email.
Yes.
It's also on my Instagram.
What is that email?
Just masonandbooks@gmail.com. masonandbooks@gmail.com.
Okay.
Mason and Books.
masonandbooks@gmail.com. And I can like, if any of you guys want to DM me, I can, also send you, Jamie's info.
Yeah. And I work with people in different capacities. It depends on what it is you're looking for. I have clients that I'm on retainer with. I've been working with them, for the past 2 years. We have a monthly fee, and I do anything, for them, from sourcing materials to photoshopping color ups of their full collection, connecting them with PR agencies, connecting them with sales reps. It all kind of just depends. The client that you were mentioning before that did the hardware, they needed a full collection. So we're working in that way with them. It's this way. It's not sort of a nickel and dime. It's a way to have an employee, and for the rate of hiring an entry-level employee, but you're getting someone with this much experience.
Yeah, sure. And also, they don't have to pay you benefits and all that good stuff. They just pay you.
Nope, you don't have to pay me benefits. Every once in a while, though, when we make something beautiful, you have to let me make one for myself, but I'll buy the skin.
Yeah. So, like, one of the other things that I want to tell everybody that you can do, that a lot of hardware factories are really, they can't do this, but Jamie can actually do pieces of fine jewelry for bags. So, for example, let's say you want to make a bag with, like, I don't know, 14 karat gold or 18 karat gold lock, or you want something with diamonds. Let's say maybe they're gray diamonds because they're not very expensive. You want to do something with precious stones, semi-precious stones. She can also do that. So
semi-precious stones, especially, those are a big niche of mine. For my days in Cara Ross, I have wonderful sources for semi-precious stones, which are stones like malachite, mother of pearl, tiger's eye, blue lapis, corals, turquoises, all those types of gemstones that really make such a beautiful difference on the bag and add a level of perceived value that, really make it next level. People are willing to pay the price for that. I see, are things drastically slowing down due to COVID for hardware? No, they're not. My factories are not the hardware factories are not based in the US. A bunch in Italy and a bunch overseas. Most of these factories, the ones in Italy, the people who work there, they live there. That's their home. Christie's still in the tannery. They're there and they want work. My overseas factories in Asia, they're all open at full capacity and they're working. So no, in fact, actually my hardware development has ramped up a lot the past 2 months because some of my cut and make factories that are in the US are slowed down. So we're really focusing on development and really focusing on hardware design right now. So it's a great time right now. If you have a minute, you want to make a D-ring, you want to make a lock, you want to make a handle, throw it at me.
Well, listen, I really appreciate, I told you we'd try to keep this to 30 minutes and we did. And that way it gives you time to maybe go have one of your delicious craft beers that you love so much before the baby wakes up.
I do like beer.
I know.
My
I know.
IPAs.
Well, so again, you guys can reach Jamie at Mason and Books, MASON and BOOKS @gmail.com. And she's awesome. There he went. That's Chandler.
Hey, Chandler.
Jamie said hey.
It almost looks like you're standing in front of a virtual background. Like it almost doesn't even look real.
No, it's real. That's the crush room. I'm in the crush room.
So still.
It's the only place that's quiet.
It looks so still.
So,
but you know what? Email me, please, guys. Don't be afraid. Email me if I can't help you or you don't have, you can't afford it right now or whatever it is. I'm sure I'll be able to steer you in the right direction. So I'm always here to help.
Hey, one last question. So if, for example, someone wanted a source for some really good, really high-end stock hardware, can you help them with that as well and help them source that?
I can help anyone source anything. In terms of my specific vendor relationships, I'll be very honest, a lot of that is proprietary, but I can source it for people.
That's what I mean. Like, so for example, if somebody wants to reach out to you and say, hey, Jamie, I want to buy 30 gold D-rings about this size. Can you do it?
Yeah,
Like they can buy them directly from you.
For sure. And often, very often, I won't even charge for it. I can just like, I'll be like, here it is. Zelle or Venmo me the $35
Yeah.
and give me your shipping address, whatever
Yeah.
it is.
So again, I mean, like, guys, Jamie's not somebody who I just found off the street. Like, I've known her for years and I trust her. She's good at what she does. I like her. She's a nice person. She's an excellent reputation. And it really, I realize that I can only sell these alligator skins if you guys can sell your bags and your product. And if there's a way to make your bags and your product, more cohesive and aligned and make you be able to do a better job selling that, that's why I want to introduce you guys to people like Jamie. I want to save you money. I want you to do it the right way. And I want you to have beautiful things. So anyways, I guess that's it. So you guys can reach out to Jamie if you need anything. And I hope you learned something. And we'll talk soon. Jamie, I think we've lost you. Let's see if you come back. I think we are. All right, guys, I think that we've lost Jamie. So that's it. You're just left with me, but you guys can reach out to her privately. And thanks for joining today. Bye.